everywhere. GBS.
The following program has been rated GE by the Kenya Film Classification Board. It is therefore suitable for general family viewing.
Hello, viewer. Welcome to Chungu cha Jamii. I'm your host, Eunice Mogo. Today on the show, we are talking about legal marriages. What is legal marriages? Marriage to you? What do you presume to be legal and not legal? Are you legally married or not? These are some of the questions that we are going to answer today. And I'm not alone. I have guests with me who are going to help us to understand better about legal marriages. I will allow them to introduce themselves. Welcome, guests. Starting with you.
Thank you. Which camera should I face? Okay. My name is Eric Musili. I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. And as our host has stated, today we are talking about marriages, some of the responsibilities that come with marriages, and other related areas. So, thank you.
Welcome to the show, Mr. Eric, and to you, sir.
Thank you. I am Oscar Gadura, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. We hope you will enjoy the show on legal marriages in Kenya.
Welcome to the show, Mr. Oscar. So today, in the past weeks, we've been talking about marriages. And so today we are talking about legal marriages to help the viewer to understand better in the relationship that he or she is into, if it is legal and if it is recognized in the law of Kenya. So to start with, what is legal marriage and how do you frame it? If I was just to ask, I'm so new in everything, so what is legal marriage?
Yes. So, marriage basically is the union of two people of the opposite sex for life. And in Kenya, we also recognized other definitions of marriage, because as Kenyans, we know that we come from different ethnic backgrounds. So the union might be between a man and several women. That is polygamy, or it can be the union of a man and a woman, which is a monogamous marriage. And marriage is presumed to be between adults, that is people that are of 18 years and above, and it should be something that is done voluntarily. That means you cannot be forced into such a union and you call it a marriage.
Interesting. When you say you cannot be forced into such a marriage, and you also say that, you've stated that you also recognize, depending on the custom where you're coming from. This one brings me to a dilemma whereby if I'm coming from the northeastern part of Kenya, whereby we have girls married off at an early age in some cultures, how do you handle such a situation? Because presuming I'm from there, at the age of 12, I'm married off simply because I'm a girl and of age, depending with the culture and the custom. And I'm also not willing because maybe I have different approach in regards to marriage. How do you come in as a lawyer, and how does the law cover such a person, Mr. Oscar?
First, we go by the definition given on a marriage. It's of people of majority age. So to marry off a girl at the age of 12, in the example you've given, it's against the law. Second is how voluntary was it? It was not voluntary. She was married off forcibly. And maybe we also see they are married off to people whom they are of advanced age as compared to them. So you have done away with the voluntariness and also the age of majority. And that's why the illegality comes in. You'll see some offenses under the Marriage Act regarding now forcing people to marry or even purporting to carry out a wedding, whereas the wedding has not met all the parameters of the definition of a marriage.
What if I'm of age? The arranged marriage, you've heard of arranged marriage. Is it also legal, Eric?
So an arranged marriage would presume that you're also aware that someone or your parent is arranging for you to be married to someone else. If you don't agree to be married to that person, it won't be a voluntary union, and that would not form a legal marriage, because at the end of the day you've been forced into that arrangement involuntarily, even if you're of majority age. Yes.
Okay, interesting. So when I'm married and it's voluntary and of age,
Yes.
now what is the process? And what are the different categories that you can say these ones are recognized by the law and these ones are not recognized?
Yes. So in Kenya, in 2014, Parliament enacted what we call the Marriage Act of 2014. It basically consolidated the previous regimes under which marriages were usually conducted and some of the areas in family law. So initially we had something like the Marriage Act. There was also another African Marriage and Divorce Act. There was also a Mohammedan Marriage Act for Islam and other related acts. So in 2014, all those acts were consolidated together to form the Marriage Act of 2014. And under the Marriage Act of 2014, we recognize 5 types of marriage. There is the civil marriage, that is the one that is conducted under the Registrar of Marriages. We call them the AG marriages or the Attorney General's marriages. There is also the customary marriages. There is also the Christian marriages, which are conducted by people of the Christian faith. There is Islamic marriages for people of the Islamic faith, and there's also Hindu marriages for people of professing the Hindu religion.
Interesting.
Yes.
What happens if I am a Christian and being married to a Muslim, or the other way around, or to be married to either a Muslim or a Hindu? How do we unify our marriage, in the sense of, you said it was unified? Do we get married in Christianity way, Islamic way, or Hindu way? Which way do we, or certificate is certificate? Oscar?
Okay, a certificate is a certificate, but depending on the way, we already appreciate that most of our societies are patriarchal, in the sense a lady getting married to an Islam lady getting married to a Christian husband will automatically first have to convert to Christianity and then get married in the Christian way.
What if we don't want to get converted? I want to maintain my own faith, he wants to maintain his own faith.
Now, that one will also bring challenges even after the marriage.
How?
Look at it this way. For example, right now we have Ramadan.
Yes.
It's in the period of Ramadan. You have a wife who is in that mood of Ramadan. Then you have a Christian who celebrated Easter just the other day. Don't you see there is too much conflict, even in a house setting?
Not really. I think, I mean, because looking at it from that perspective, I'll also look at it from a perspective of tribe. Kikuyu and Luo have different culture and norms. We only have to adjust according to agreement.
In the example you've just given, if you are a Kikuyu gentleman, bride going for a groom in Kisumu, you'll be married according to the Kikuyu custom. That's how the union will be celebrated.
And also, just to add to what he's saying,
Okay.
if such people were to approach me as an advocate, I would probably advise them to go under a civil marriage. That is a marriage before the Attorney General. In that way, they would not have to face challenges of, oh, I want to celebrate the marriage under Islamic law, and my spouse wants to celebrate it under the Christian ways of, yes. So
That's a perfect solution. So
yes.
AG, here we come.
Yes. And even just to build on the example you've just given, there is this celebrated case in Kenya called the SM Otieno case, the famous criminal lawyer in the 80s. He married a Kikuyu lady called Wamboi. But then the lady, the contestation then in court was she was not married according to the Luo culture. So that patriarchal system of our society saves us a lot of mess. In the sense, it's for the lady to give in to her customs, her faith, then join the husband.
No, so you found the solution this other way.
Yes,
both ways can
yes, we
work,
have.
yes.
Because now I'm trying to look at it because with the current generation that we have in, and you have just stated how we are intermarrying each other, and with the different custom, religions, and everything, we all want to be solemnly identifying what I am. Because today I may be married to Eric, but I don't want to change to the second name of Eric. I want to maintain my own name for different reasons. Could be personal. I could be having a prestigious surname, like for the prominent people. So I'm having, maybe as a person, I'm Eunice Mugo. I'm a brand by my own. So if I'm a brand by my own and then I'm getting married to someone else, then I'll maybe feel I'm well known by my actual names and not my husband's name. And I might also choose to the other way around,
Yes.
So how do we work in terms of that? Because I also had someone that I don't want to quote in terms of name saying, if I get married to a wife and doesn't add my last name to her name, that's an issue. How do you handle such a case?
So, marriage should be something that two people are coming into voluntarily. And it is assumed, even before now you reach at the table of now you're marrying one another, you've sat down, you've agreed on some of the major concerns or issues that you might have as a person and I might have as a person. So before we even think about being married, we might have dated. So some of those issues like my last name or your last name should be issues that you've already handled before you come into the marriage table. Otherwise, if you go into that marriage with such issues still coming up, you might have a lot of problems during the course of the marriage.
Interesting.
Yes.
That's an eye-opener for things to look out for before you sign. Oscar, what happens, like we were discussing before, I don't want our viewer to listen. There is some time back that I agree, I'm open to correction, but there is some time back, I'm not good in law, neither am I good in watching news, but there was this incident of Kamwiste, whereby, I don't know if it was to be recognized, that stated, if I've stayed with my husband, the Kamwiste marriage, for 6 months, we are also recognized as married people. Is it true or false?
That's a false presumption, going by the recent decision of the Supreme Court, where they say that the judges in majority say that when that come with stay, it's merely an intention of getting married, not a marriage. So your protection as a party to a marriage cannot be accrued from the Marriage Act. It will accrue from other regimes of laws around maybe ownership of property, around custody and maintenance of children, around other areas of law, not the Marriage Act.
Wow, interesting. So even if we have stayed for 20, 30, 50 years and we do not have that legal document, the marriage certificate from whichever categories you mentioned, we are not recognized anywhere. So I can walk out of that person's life like nothing happened.
No, in the absence of a document, the good thing is that our Marriage Act recognizes customary marriages. Whereas there is a requirement there for registration of customary marriages, there is also recognition that a mere payment of dowry, of a token of dowry, forms part of a marriage. Or depending with your customs, had the person to pay dowry, at what point would he be deemed to have been married? There is, of course, dowry is in stages, but at what stage had that person reached? And in that custom, is it okay that now it could be said that so and so was a wife?
But if you've not gone through any process, tuko Eric, tuko
So, as my colleague is trying to say, and just to build on what he's saying, cohabitation is merely a presumption of marriage and not a marriage. Under the Kenyan regime that we have on governing marriages, all types of marriages have to be registered. Whether it is a customary marriage, whether it is a Christian marriage or a civil marriage or other religious marriages, all of them have to be registered. So even a customary marriage has to be registered for you to get a certificate that so and so have been married under customary marriage laws.
Wait,
Yes.
I even didn't get that right.
Yes.
So under customary marriage, as Oscar was mentioning, and you're building up on that,
Yes.
meaning if my husband or my spouse has paid dowry, we also have to notify the registrar that we are going to pay dowry.
Yes. No, you don't have to notify him that you are going to pay dowry. But once you go through all those processes,
Till the end, because
yes,
it has
yes.
different stages.
Yes, yes. Whether I pay some dowry and all the other processes that my tradition or my customs require of me to do. Upon now finalizing with that traditions, I am required, me and my spouse are required now to go to the AG and register that marriage as a customary marriage and be issued with a certificate. And one of the major issues or some of the things that such a law is trying to cure is instances where probably you've been married to someone and you are not aware that that person also has another family or other clandes or wives out there. So if I go now to, if now a point reaches where we are fighting for or for division of the deceased spouse's property, you will be recognized as a wife under customary marriage.
Kitaturamba. Because now I'm also thinking,
Yes.
how many people know about that? Those who are watching us now,
Yes, yes.
how many people know about that? Because it's just like I'm getting to learn about it now.
Yes.
There's this incidence of the prenups. We've had celebrities, footballers, I don't know, it's not recent, but a while back there was this footballer who got married to this lady. But apparently this person had signed all his property under his mother's name. And it was a scandal. It was very scandalous because now the lady, it was the time to divorce and was asking for properties, and it happens that this man owes nothing. How does that even work? Is that even legal? In Kenya, we're just carrying that scenario to have it in Kenya. Is it also workable in Kenya? Oscar?
Yes, it's workable in the sense that it works around the issue of matrimonial property. For example, but they want to have arrangements on the way they will utilize these assets, or they don't want them to form part of the matrimonial property. In the example that I gave earlier of maybe you celebrate your marriage on 4th June of 2024. Then as at that time, spouse A had an asset, spouse B had their assets. Those assets won't form part of the matrimonial property. Yes. Matrimonial property is what you acquire in between during the subsistence of the marriage. Interestingly, under our constitution, you find very explicit words on that parties have equal rights before, during, and after, and during dissolution of the marriage. So following to that, it's for example, if the spouses want to admit some assets to the matrimonial property, that's where the prenup comes in. Where you don't want, then it's automatic. You just look at the date of registration of the asset, and you can always determine whether it's matrimonial property or not. Now, going to matrimonial property, you go and check whether there was contribution. Now, in Kenya, we also recognize non-monetary contribution. In the same way, a wife would prepare his husband and kids. The husband goes to work, the children go to school. That's also contribution. So even though an asset could be registered in the name of a husband, it will also, the wife has a right to that property through that non-monetary contribution. You can't really ascertain it. It's left to at the discretion of courts.
Interesting. Viewer, I hope you're learning as much as I am. Send in your question, your comments across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. We'll be back shortly.
So through the four gospel books, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John, we can know the heart of Jesus in depth.
그리고 우리가 느끼는 그 예수님을 성경을 통해 느낄 수 있어서 너무 감사합니다.
And the Jesus that we can feel him through the scriptures, and I'm very thankful about that. Jesus Christ came to this earth for our
죄를
sins.
지셨고
He carried our sins,
십자가에 못 박혀 주고 죄의 형벌을 당하셨고
and he was crucified, and he received the punishment for sins,
무덤에 들어가셨다가
and he was put into the tomb
사흘 만에 부활하셨습니다.
and resurrected in 3 days.
이것이 우리가 말하는 복음입니다.
This is the gospel that we speak,
예수님께 우리 죄를 위해 죽으신 이야기.
about how Jesus died for our sins. The purpose of Jesus being
우리
crucified,
죄를 담당하기 위하여 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으셨습니다.
he was crucified to pay for our
그래서
sins.
예수 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으심으로 우리 죄가 분명히 씻어졌는데
And through Jesus being crucified, clearly our sins have been washed clean.
참 안타깝게도 많은 사람은 여전히 죄인이라고 말합니다.
However, unfortunately, many people still say that they are sinners.
Welcome to
Fun Dance Class.
Today we will continue learning about Jingle Bell Rock. Friends, first you cross your arm and put it on top of your head, and as you go in left side, you open it, then you come back to your place.
And then you make your leg 90 degrees. And then as you put your legs until 90 degrees, you need to jump a bit. 1, 2. Then as you jump a bit, you need to stretch your hands downwards.
Everywhere. GBS.
Welcome back, viewer, to Chungu cha Jamii. Today we are talking about legal marriages. Are you married legally or are you not? Send in your question, your comments across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa, or SMS line is 21144. Before we went on a break, gentlemen, you have helped us to understand more in terms of legal marriage. We've talked about prenups, we've talked about the different categories of legal marriages that are approved by the law. So, what is the steps, Ama? What is the process for one to now say fully they are married? In this regard of getting now the certificates, the legal certificate, what is the process until I acquire it? We've signed and I have it now. I'm saying now I'm legally married. What is the process in the different categories, and which one is the shortest and the longest? Eric.
So, in all those types of marriages, there are different steps that the people that want to undertake marriage under that particular category have to comply with. For instance, if you want to do a civil marriage, that is a marriage before the registrar of marriages, there are particular steps. You would be required to first fill in a form or a declaration. Most of those forms are usually filled through the eCitizen platform currently. So you fill a declaration, which you also pay some prescribed fee. Then that you will also attach documents such as your passport photos, your identification card, your birth certificate, as well as your spouse's relevant documents. Then those documents will be now uploaded into the eCitizen platform, and they will be scrutinized by the people at the registrar's office. And upon, if everything is in order, they will issue you with a notice of intention to marry, which is supposed to run for 21 days. And the notice is also to give notice to other people in the public. For instance, I might be intending to get married under that system of marriage, but I have someone else that I've undertaken a customary marriage with. Such a notice is to give the public also an opportunity for anyone that would want to object to the marriage that I'm about to undergo to come and present their objection before the registrar. So,
allow me to interrupt you before you continue.
Yes.
On that note,
yes.
In such a case, if you have another family, another wife, and maybe is not agreeing for you to get married to someone else,
Yes.
how is this notification? Does the notification only come through your email, or is it made public, or how does it go about so that me on the other end can see that you're getting married, and if I'm objecting to it, I can contend before the 21 days elapse.
Okay, thank you. So such a notice, first of all, will be published in the Kenyan Gazette. And also, if you want to celebrate the marriage in Nairobi, it will be published within the region where you intend to celebrate that marriage, so that the people that would be aware of your intention to get married are presumed to be people around that location or that area. And once it is also published in the Kenyan Gazette, the Kenyan Gazette is presumed to be a nationwide circulation. Yes, so upon publishing of the notice, people in the public are given an opportunity to, if there's anyone that wishes to raise an objection to that marriage, to present their arguments before the marriage now proceeds, before the marriage process proceeds further. So upon the lapse of that 21 days notice, you are now required to get married within 30 to 90 days after the notice has expired. You will also now, after now you get married, you can now decide to go and do to have a ceremony in some a location. Then after now you are married, you usually get a certificate from the registrar, which is a certificate of marriage, upon payment of a prescribed fee. Yes.
So marriage is not for free.
Yes, marriage is not for free. And perhaps the civil marriages are the ones that are less costly. If you want to undertake a Christian marriage, and I'm sure you're also aware of that, you'll see people opening WhatsApp groups, trying to contribute, having a budget for the wedding. And now for Christian marriages, these are marriages which are undertaken before a clergy or a minister of faith in the Christian area of marriage. So for such marriages, you're also supposed to issue a notice. The clergy will issue a notice to the church and also members of the public that so and so wish to get married in this particular date. So most of the time you're supposed to issue not less than a 21 days notice, and it is equally to invite members of the public to, if there's anyone that wishes to raise an objection to that marriage, to have that opportunity to raise the objection. And upon the lapse of that period, you go to church, you celebrate the marriage. And under Christian marriages, you're also supposed to have witnesses, equally under the civil regime of marriages. I will come with a witness, my spouse will come with a witness to witness that we've celebrated that marriage. And after everything is done, you get a certificate of marriage. Yes, which is also supposed to be registered with the Registrar of Marriages for him to confirm that so and so have been married according to the Christian marriage way.
Is it the same process that is applicable for the Hindu and Islam?
Yes, it's more or less the same process that is applicable under the Hindu and under the Islamic religion.
Wow, that's so interesting, because now looking at it from that perspective, and I'm like, oh, okay. Wow. After we've acquired and we've paid for everything, and now we are good. And we said prenups are signed before.
Yes.
Now, what are the responsibilities that now comes with marriages in terms of decision making, financial financial agreement in how we are spending? Is it something that if you do not agree with my spouse, that also the law comes in? Or how does it work, Oscar?
My colleague pointed out about some small things that you should sort out during the dating period, just before you get to the marriage table. I believe such things, financials, should also form part of that discussion. About what obligations come with marriages, most obligations will come now relying on we go now to the grounds for dissolution of a marriage. What are the common grounds we have under all those 5 types of marriages? You will find some 4 common common grounds on which a marriage can be dissolved. 1 is desertion, 2 is cruelty, both physical and emotional. 3, you will find absence for a period of 2 years. All that. So then we build on the obligations that a spouse has on their other spouse, on their spouse. So it means you should be kind. It also means that you should provide. It also means that you should be present for your partner. The other obligations that come with marriage now comes with the result of living together, which are children. So once you have you have parental obligations over the children, either as a father or as a mother. Yes.
Interesting. You've mentioned something, and I'm like, wait, what? You've said separation for 2 years can make the marriage to be dissolved.
Yes.
But that one depends with either party wanting to dissolve it. So, in these instances of your spouse working abroad, and they have gone for 2 or more years because of their contract based, and they are not able to come before the end of contract, how do you handle such a case?
Most of the grounds that I mentioned, they come together. If that person was absent but then provided to you, would you still want the marriage dissolved? If that person was absent for 2 years but is still kind to you, you still communicate. But if that person was absent for 2 years, he doesn't provide, or she doesn't provide, he's cruel to you, both on phone, on messages, if that, or rough communication, then it builds a case for now nullification of the marriage.
Interesting.
Yes. So
yes.
yes. Sorry, just to add on what he's saying, those what he's mentioning are what the law will call irreconcilable differences. So if your spouse or my spouse is abroad, but we are still on good terms, we still consider each other as a married couple, I will recognize that my spouse went abroad just to try and provide for the family, and not because we have our issues. Yes, so the fact that my spouse is abroad doesn't mean, even if he goes abroad for 10 years and we are still on good terms, that doesn't mean we ought to be divorced. Yes, so divorce only comes in where there is irreconcilable differences between the parties. Yes.
So in matters of separation and also irreconcilable issues, what are these things that you look at, especially where children are involved? Who are considered first in terms of separating? And do you listen to children's grievances, Oscar?
Yes. If you go to those children courts, we appreciate the judicial officers there very much. They will ask a child, nataka kukaa na mama ama baba. They will be very friendly to those kids in a way that they will give them or they will pour their heart out to them. So in making those decisions of custody, you will find a judicial officer takes very much cognizance of the feedback they get from the children about about preference or who is given preference at the time of granting parental rights or custodial rights. Every child has equal custodial rights, custody and maintenance. You have equal parental obligations to the children. What happens now is judicial officers will engage now services of children officers to assess on the environment in which the children are growing in, the economic ability of the parents, to now allocate or divide those parental obligations. Yes.
Interesting.
There is also an interesting part of children of some gender, for example, children of tender age or of certain gender can't be left with a parent of certain gender, but courts are yet to give a settlement on that.
What do you mean by that?
I mean a father being left with a 2-month or 2-year-old daughter, granting custodial rights of a 2-year-old daughter to a father.
Is it not, at what time do you say the custody of a child has been granted to the father opposed to the mother? What are those criteria that you look at? Because I've heard that a child below 18 years is automatically under the custody of the mother. Is it true or false?
It's a false presumption in the sense, what if that mother, is unfit to handle the children? What if that mother was absent during when the kids were growing up? Will you still grant the custody rights to them? So that's why I say the judicial officers in children courts exercise that discretion in interviewing the children, looking at their welfare, both during the squabbles between the spouses, and also their well-being in future.
Yes.
So in such a case that you've mentioned of like a 2-year-old girl not being left maybe with a dad, what happens in such a case if the mother is not there, like completely, and doesn't want to get involved with the child? 1, 2, when in such cases, away from maybe separation and divorce, what happens if a parent dies? Because we have also mothers who lose their lives when they are giving birth, and the only person to take care of this child is the father. And in this case, it's a girl who's born. So in such a case, what happens? If I'm comfortable, if the man is comfortable to take care of the daughter and raise the daughter well, is there any time that the law will be involved? Do I have to inform the law? Do I have just to continue with my life like nothing has happened? How does such a person have to handle his or his issues? Because you're talking now of a man.
Okay. The practice I've seen is around also giving maternal relatives some rights of custody. So maybe you'll find a maternal auntie or a maternal grandmother being also given equal custodial rights with the father so that they are in check in that case you've given.
Yes, and just to add to what he's saying, the court or the law will only become involved where there is a dispute on who ought to have the custody of the child. So if, for instance, in the unfortunate event that the mother passes on while giving birth, and this is a child of very tender years or just a newborn baby, the father will take the custody of that child as the other parent that remains alive. The law would only become involved in instances where the father, for instance, is not a responsible person there are other people that also are fighting for the custody of that child. For instance, maternal relatives or paternal relatives are saying this father ought not to be given this child. So the law will come into place and it will look at the best interest of the child. In determining what are the best interests of the child, the court will now involve uh, officers or children officers or probation officers to go and conduct independent interviews and research to find out whether this person ought to be given custody of this child or not.
So, in summary, what we are saying is that if as a person do not involve the law or anything legal in my personal issues, there is no way that it's going to hinder me in anything.
Yes, yes, more or less that is what we are saying.
Mm-hmm.
If the law will only become involved if there are certain issues that require it to become involved. For instance, if that child is not being taken care of properly, their basic needs are not being met, the child is not being taken to school, the child is not accessing medical needs. So in such instances, the law will become involved and find out whether you are actually taking care of that child in the way that that child enjoys her rights even under the Constitution. Remember, even children's rights are protected by the Constitution.
Yeah, true.
Yes, yes.
Oscar, from what Eric is saying, and in such a case of a parent maybe not being responsible, not doing the things that are required of them to the child, does the community, even to the marriage, because now today we were talking about legal marriage, it's just that the children are part of marriage. If I'm a neighbor, I'm an outsider from the society community, and I'm seeing question marks in your marriage, in your family, in how you're bringing up your children, can I go to report and also have, can I go to report, maybe look at it from this perspective, if the man or the woman is abusive to the spouse, and also if the parents are abusive to the child, as a person from the community, can I go and report it? Or I can only report what I am involved in, not what I'm not involved in? Oscar.
No, you can. You should report. Remember, we come from a background of being Africans. In Africa, a child is a child of the entire village. Your child, if I find them doing wrong, I should tell you they are doing this. Maybe it's time you stop them from doing this. So in that spirit of African socialism, it's now what we also come with you reporting to the authorities. You can report to a chief, a police station. I am aware also police stations have child protection units under the DCI, so you can report there, and they will take necessary steps. What we are discussing here on issues of custody and maintenance will form more of the civil type of dispute. As for the action taken by the police, even neglecting a child is also an offense. So that's more of the criminal type of offense.
Interesting. Because now when you're talking in also the thinking, and it's coming to my mind, like if I just want to bring havoc to this perfect family, or maybe I'm a friend who is seeing that my friend is not able to speak out with the things that he or she is going through in their marriage, and I take it upon myself and maybe report. To what extent are the investigation taken? Because you'll hear someone say, did my wife report? No, we're good. So you have exactly do you look into so that you build up something?
So, as my colleague had just said, even in the police, they have child protection units. Even the area chief is responsible for what goes on within that area. So, if someone is aware that a particular couple is abusive to their children or to one of the spouse, it's your responsibility to go and report that to the police. The police will conduct their investigations. They'll probably visit that homestead. They'll require everyone to write, the parents now. They'll be required probably to write a statement on what goes on. The children will also be interviewed by children welfare officers. They'll ask them how what goes on in the house, and other if their needs are also being met by their parents. So if such officers, and it is assumed that they do that for the interest of the child, if such officers come to a conclusion that yes, there's a problem in this house or in this home, they will take the necessary action, which now will, which might include taking criminal action against the parents, or even separating those children from their parents, if need be.
And in marriage, can it also form the basis of separation between a husband and a wife?
It's a little different in marriage, because for marriage to be dissolved, it is the parties themselves to feel that they need to be divorced. They have experienced what I was calling irreconcilable differences.
So no matter how abusive my husband is, and
Yes.
I've not made the decision of getting separated with him, there's nothing that can happen.
Yes, there's nothing that can happen, because it is now you as an individual to feel that I have reached a breaking point. Of course,
A point of no
would,
return.
yes, I would not advise anyone to wait for such a point to reach. If you feel that your interests are not being catered for in that marriage, it is wise, even for your own safety and also for your well-being, and if there are children involved, also for the well-being of the children, for parties to go their separate ways.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for honoring our invite. I'm being told you've run out of time. Just your last word in less than 10 seconds. Starting with you, Eric.
Okay. Thank you, and I am very happy for the discussion that we've had. The area of family law is very extensive.
Sure.
And marriage and marriage is just one of that areas. There are other areas that we've also touched on. There are issues to do with succession, probate and succession. There are issues to do with children, that is custody and maintenance. And it is now even up to us as a society to continue educating ourselves on what is even required of us, even as members of the society, and even if we enter into a marriage, what is required of us to be able to raise a family. Because as even the Constitution says, a family is the basic unit of the society, and it enjoys recognition and protection by the state.
And to you, Oscar.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity of being here this morning. My prayer unto viewers is that we protect our families. They form the basic unit of life, basic unit of societies, and also invite people in marriage to seek the services of our parents, our relatives back at home, to reconciliate, mediate our disputes just before we reach that breaking point. Let's involve our friends, our families, people we can trust, because marriage is one area of law where there is express promotion of traditional dispute resolution mechanisms. So before you just say I'm fed up, don't just do it. Involve a few friends, a few relatives, see where that goes. Then maybe you can, after that, look at the feedback. Thank you.
So much for coming.
Yes.
Viewer, I hope you've learned as much as I have. We'll sure invite you again in another different discussion. Let's keep this conversation going across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. Till next time, have a nice time. Goodbye.
Everywhere. GBS.